My name is Abdi Hassan. I've lived in Hamlets my whole life, and I grew up in Hamlets. Went to a local state school called Langdon Park, and I speak passionately about being a lived experience practitioner or someone with lived experience of deep trauma, which is quite common in certainly my community, through surviving as a person adverse childhood experiences, addiction. I have SMI, and I speak proudly about what I've been through because in some way I've used my trauma actually to excel and to educate people about what these drivers are, as Martin was saying earlier. Because what I understand, certainly in my community, leaving a country that had civil war, Somaliland, is there is a lot of trauma and there's a lot of displaced people that arrived in this country in an environment at the time in Hamlets where it was led by many people that were BMPs, quite serious levels of racism, structural inequality, and generally deep poverty. And what I know about certainly in Hamlets as a resident of Hamlets is that we still have the poorest children in the country. We have the highest ASB, we have the highest substance misuse in the country, and deep levels of poverty and deep levels of inequality. I studied for many years what I can do as someone who, despite all of that, despite the story, went to university, went to work at an accountancy firm called PwC. That I think partly what's important for me is that the change has to be from the community. And I think we have to promote trauma and experiences in a positive way. And we have to promote people's resilience in a positive way, that actually there is hope in what you've gone through and that you can use your story to impact people in a radical, help-focused approach. And that's why I'm really proud of the work that we do at Coffee Afrique. We started with a crisis cafe, which predominantly helped people that were homeless and using substances in Hackney. And now over 4 years, we manage 5 different hubs as far as Enfield, Harrow, Tower Hamlets, Newham. And I'm proud of our work because it involves daily challenge, it involves daily advocacy, it involves speaking truth to power about what trauma looks like, certainly for my community and Black communities, around housing overcrowding, around the fact that our young Black men are stopped and searched beyond any other groups, or have unemployment or structural racism through services, or over-sectioned or over-medicated. And again, as Martin said earlier, so many cases through violent crime that could have and should have been avoided if there was wraparound support and intersectional, culturally competent wraparound support. And that's why I'm really happy that we've been commissioned by Angela and the Tower Hamlets Council team, because what I feel at the moment through supporting 532 people per week with different levels of challenges is that it's so important that the answers are co-created, are designed by people of color. And also I recognize that both primary care and secondary care services can't do it alone. I think we have to do things in a totally new way, because the pandemic has forced us to think differently and encourages us to try new things and pilot new ideas and test new models. And that's why I'm really encouraged by Whips Cross as an example, putting out a tender at the moment to have new violent recovery or community organizations working with young people in A&E who have violent challenges. But also this idea about, we have, I think perhaps because of cost of living and Ukraine and all the other global intersectional issues, a real time for us to do things totally radically different. And what I believe passionately is in encouraging communities of color to create what we do, for example, using Islam-based therapy, using Tree of Life, using African-based therapies that are holistic, that look at healing and what trauma looks like at your root, so that you can address those challenges too, but using models that have theory of change, that have donut economics, that have radical help, but also just to trust people, trust the communities that we serve, let them make mistakes, pilot new ideas. And also, as I said earlier, whether it's GPs or people at hospitals, chief executives, to really encourage minoritized organizations, but also encourage patients and know that actually there is real power in giving people a choice and giving people options, and also respecting their faith in that approach. So I just encourage that radical thinking and that transformation and meaningful measured transformation.